it's my pleasure to welcome you again to our show, Diaspora Live Show. As always, this show airs live on standard digital videos at 7:45 in Kenya. That is right now, because of the time zone difference, it's 11:45 in the US. And this week we are recording this show. I'm actually in Nairobi right now. I've come to Kenya specifically to cover the annual convention. This is something that I believe in as a person, as the diaspora, very strongly, as a journalist, because I believe in the fact that the diaspora have a place to play in the development of Kenya. So that's why I always make it a point every year to come and attend the annual diaspora conferences organized by Dr. Shem Ochodo and his team in Kenya. And one of the reasons I do that is because we have several diaspora groups working on the diaspora, doing things, different things. But as you all know, to bring about change happens at the table, not in chat rooms. And Shem has consistently been working with the leadership in the country, because generally that's the best way to bring about change. So that's why I believe in the annual diaspora conferences and the role that the diaspora play. So today, what we're going to talk about with Shem is about the upcoming convention. He's calling it symposium. I'm not a doctor like Shem, so I don't know the difference between a symposium and a convention and a conference. But the good thing is that he's here. He's going to tell us about that. So it's my pleasure to welcome you, and also to welcome one more time, like we did last year, Dr. Shem Ochodo, who is in charge of organizing the diaspora. He's the chairman of diaspora, what we call KDA, Kenya Diaspora Organization. But him is a little different from what we have the diaspora, because this is the global diaspora. It's part of the diaspora, yes, but him is more broad and more global. So Shem, that's a long introduction, but again, just introduce yourself to our viewers one more time, and give us a sense of how Kenya is, because many Kenyans living abroad are now making plans. They're jetting in for the diaspora conference. Just give them the lay of the land. What the diaspora expect to find as we ready ourselves for the conference.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. Thank you, Chris. Karibu nyumbani, welcome home. Delighted we can reconnect again, and I can't thank you enough for being a champion of diaspora matters, using the pen, the power of the pen. You've done that pretty well over the decades, and we can't take it for granted. The support you've given to the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and you've given to our annual event in particular, is another that needs no gainsaying in terms of compliments. So we're delighted next on the 8th to 10th of December, we are hosting for the first time, actually, an African Diaspora Symposium. It's going to run concurrently with the 7th annual Kenya Diaspora Homecoming Convention. The Africa Diaspora Symposium is going to be biennial, in the sense that it will be taking place every 2 years. In 2022, it will take place in Nigeria. That's already planned in December 2022. But this year, it's starting here in Kenya. And we're very proud, we feel very nice that we're honored to host it. The main objective of the symposium is to rally diaspora resources, both financial, intellectual, as well as business networks, to jumpstart Africa's economic recovery post-COVID. But also we're looking at the opportunity for economic emancipation of the diasporas themselves, because diaspora literally globally have been affected by this pandemic, the same way Kenyans at home or Africans at home have been affected. And I'm delighted, Chris, that this is happening exactly 25 years after internet got into Africa, courtesy of the diasporas. We were delighted to learn, I didn't realize that that internet first came to sub-Saharan Africa through Kenya. I was pleasantly surprised when last month on 24th of October, we did celebrate under the patronage of Madam Esther Koimet, Principal Secretary in charge of broadcasting and telecommunications, 25 years of internet. So yet again, we are here. There are some goodies diasporas are also bringing, which will be on show, on display during the symposium / convention. Maybe at that point, I may also just mention that at the Africa Union level, they have recognized and complimented the government of Kenya in its engagement with its diasporas. So it's not coincidental that we are hosting the first Africa Diaspora Summit. As a matter of fact, in March, early March this year, just before COVID struck heavy on Africa, Excellency President Kenyatta, one, was complimented by his colleagues, the heads of states. Secondly, was requested for Kenya to host an African Diaspora Summit this year. Obviously, that's part of the resolutions of the Africa Union heads of states. And for us, we feel very proud that there was that recognition. We do know that COVID may have disrupted a bit the government programs and so on, but that the heads of states could think of Kenya to do that, for us is humbling. And that's why we said, okay, because December last year, Chris, you recall when we were together in Nairobi, we did say this year we're going to expand. We're going to go beyond Kenya to have an Africa Diaspora Summit, and the dates were fixed there. So we look forward to hosting our guests and very excited about the prospects.
Awesome. That's very important. And in fact, talking about the internet, I can't fail to mention that the internet came to Africa courtesy of Dr. Shemo Chodo, who is apparently my guest today, and we take a lot of pride and honor in you for being the first. And you just, like you said, things are different this year because we know of the pandemic. I'm very excited about this year being an African symposium instead of just a Kenyan diaspora conference. But before you talk about even the objectives and why we as Kenyans, we are getting ready to host diasporas from around the world, speak to us about how the program is going to look this year, because people are talking about social distancing and all that, the protocols.
Right. Chris, one, I'm delighted to mention that when we met last December, the main theme that year was the Big Four agenda and the diasporas. And apart from Honorable CS Eugene Wamalwa being chief guest, among our keynote speakers was then Honorable CS in charge of health, Madam Cicely Kariuki. And we did agree in the new year we would get together and figure out how diaspora would work with the Ministry of Health to deepen or accelerate realization of universal health coverage. We didn't know COVID was going to strike. I'm pleased to note that since we've continued to engage when COVID struck, we by that time had formed what was called the Diaspora Health Task Team. With COVID striking early this year in Kenya, we quickly constituted what's called the Diaspora COVID Task Force, co-chaired by Madam Rosemary Musumba in New York and Dr. John Alwar in Tanzania, a medical doctor, alongside with 60 members, most of them diasporas and diaspora returnees, addressing various issues to complement government's effort to mitigate the vagaries of COVID-19. So to that extent, I must say that we are ensuring and we are encouraging. In fact, just recently, we did publish a document, 5 major ways to keep COVID at bay. I can't belabor about them. And the 5th way, of course, is complying by Ministry of Health and World Health Organization's protocols, which include social distancing, washing hands, general hygiene, wearing masks, and so on. Those are things that we encourage our members and our allies to follow very religiously. It's in that regard, Chris, that this year, we're going to reduce the numbers. In the last year, we had in total 800 people participate in the event from 44 different countries of the world. And of those, every day we had, those were over 3-day period. Every day we had about 250 to 300 people attend and sign up. This year, we're going to reduce that number to about 1/3. So we're only going to be strictly 100 people. But secondly, it's not going to be just physical. It's going to be hybrid. And to the best of our knowledge, Chris, this is going to be the first time this is going to be experimented in Africa. And as we did celebrate with the 10 other African internet pioneers who joined us on 24th October last year, they are helping us to stretch frontiers of technology to the very limit. So we're going to have what we call a hybrid event. We do know people have had virtual conferences and so on, but there's been nothing like this that we're going to experience, because it's going to be hybrid. We're going to have exhibitors, we're going to have guest speakers, and we're going to have attendees, and we're going to have meeting rooms, both physical as well as virtual. Some of our speakers who are very broad, very diverse, some are going to be in person at Sereni, but others are going to follow virtually. So it's an experience. In fact, I know people have been talking of what we call virtual reality, almost close to reality. But this one is beyond virtual reality. It's what we call mixed reality. So we are going to have virtual together with physical. I can't wait for the day.
But let's talk about the objective. Again, being this being a very, very unique year, are the objectives the same or they've changed, as it were?
The objectives have changed a little bit, partly because of the times we are living in. The focus is how do we work together to reboot the economy? And this is happening at a time when, interestingly, and against all odds, people had expected diaspora remittances to go down, to look south. Strangely enough, and it's something we are still in conversations with the Central Bank of Kenya and other concerned arms of government and private sector, trying to understand and unpack, find out how come the remittances are going up, yet diasporas are themselves equally hit. And of course, the global economy itself has taken a beating. So we're delighted that remittances have gone up. So there's no denying that diaspora are going to play a very significant role in our economic revival or recovery. But I must mention that part of what triggered us, and given that we're going continental, the Africa's diaspora pump into the continent, whooping $80 billion every year, which is double all overseas development assistance that Africa gets every year. Okay, most of that goes to, about 30 billion goes into Egypt, 25 billion goes into Nigeria, about 9 billion goes into Morocco, and so on, and $3 billion comes into Kenya. We are number 4 or 5 in terms of those remittances every year. But I must mention that we're not only looking at what we call contemporary diasporas, that's those who went out in recent times. We're also looking at what we call historical diasporas. That's the Caribbeans, the African Americans, Afro-Europeans, Afro-Asians, and so on and so forth. And Chris, you will be aware that the African American spending capacity is $1.2 trillion every year. Now, that's bigger than any single GDP of an African country. Talking with our partners, some of them are saying, look, we want to bring a bit of this pie to Africa through Kenya, underline, through Kenya. Now, this is part of why we are very excited and delighted to host this event. And we're working with various partners to ensure that part of that investment inflows and business inflow comes into Kenya. And in that regard, Chris, therefore, the main objective is how do we promote business? How do we promote investment, diaspora investment, both historical as well as contemporary diasporas? So we are addressing 7 sub-themes. So one, the agenda is beyond Kenya. In a way, it's still similar in the sense that even the Big 4 agenda were looking at the economy, but now we're going beyond Kenya. So the 7 themes that we realized were critical, sub-themes, critical to achieve economic recovery and emancipation of the diasporas themselves. The first one is Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We're expecting the Secretary General to address the meeting virtually, but we also have the chairperson, who is a Libyan, of the AU ECOSOC Trade and Industry. It's called Cluster Committee. So that's a confirmed speaker. But we also have other business people. We have 2 subsessions within that. One addressing policy issues. We do know this coming at a time when we are part of the team working that's chaperoned by the Ministry of Industry, Industrialization and Trade, negotiating trade agreement between the USA and Kenya. We do know that the conversations between UK, Britain, and Kenya have just completed, but we are also alive to ongoing conversations between UK and Africa, again, in which some of our members in the UK are participating. So we have lots of business people, KEPSA, we have Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Nigerian Chamber of Commerce, and so on and so forth, who would be participating. Not to mention, and we're very delighted, Chris, for the first time, we have major US government participation in this regard, and we thank them for this. We don't take it for granted. Prosper Africa, which is the main platform that the administration, the current administration, uses to promote infrastructure growth in Africa. It includes 11 major US agencies, including USAID, Exim Bank, OPIC, DFC, that's the Development Finance Corporation. And we were delighted to learn some of those organizations have significant funds for development of infrastructure in Africa. This is why I must say we are delighted that the Right Honorable Odinga, who happens to be the AU High Representative for Infrastructure, has accepted. He'll be a keynote speaker. But in addition, we are also addressing the other 6 sub-themes. I'll just run quickly through them. Second one is education, human resource, and knowledge hub. We believe that African capital, human capital, can be used to solve Africa's problems. Third sub-theme, also related to that, is mindset shift, transformational leadership, and good governance. Some of our members believe what's holding back Africa is leadership. That if we sharpen that and we change our minds and believe in ourselves, that Africa would be different. And COVID actually gives us an opportunity to reboot and be at the same par with the rest of the globe. Which leads me to the 4th sub-theme, universal health coverage and the mitigating effects of COVID. And we'll be listening to some of the world's best in this regard. Head of World Bank Africa Health Initiative, speakers from Africa CDC who are entrusted to manage COVID within the continent, including our very own, it's being coordinated by Professor Silvanus Ayeni, who is a Nigerian neurosurgeon in Washington, DC, has been there for nearly 40 years. So it's as best as the world can offer in terms of the people that are going to be in session. We expect also Commissioner of Health from Nigeria and our Ministry of Health. The participation sum would be in recorded form, others will be live, and yet others will be physical, in person. Then we'll also be addressing the fifth item will be the issue of economic emancipation and Black Lives Matter moment, BLM moment. In this, and this will be for each of the sub-themes, we have a keynote speaker. And for this particular one, we have a member of House of Commons, Right Honorable Claudia Webber, UK Parliament, and will be chaired by Judge retired Peter Herbert, who happens to be president of the UK Black Lawyers Society, and looking at how do we ensure we don't lose the moment, the George Floyd moment, to rebuild faith in inclusion, and that we are a very inclusive people. We won't discriminate against anyone, but we also don't want to be discriminated against just by virtue of race or color or tribe. So that's a sub-theme we will be talking about. Then we'll also be talking about maybe a cross-cutting issue. We'll be talking about the cross-cutting issue. There are many things that would fit there, but we have just picked 5 issues. The first one is the issue of climate change. We have expert in this, a former member of parliament from Ghana and formerly deputy presiding officer of AU ECOSOC will be guiding that session. We'll also be talking about youth, gender. We'll also be talking about technology and creative arts, because we realize there are businesses there's money and wealth and jobs to be created in this space. This is why we're very delighted and happy that our major partner this time, 3-time running, is the Kenya Film Classification Board. So the issue of creatives industry is one of those that we're going to talk about. So Chris, these are the 6-7 sub-themes that we're going to address. But overall, the idea, and for each of them, this is not going to be a talk shop. For the business part, we even have a deal room where some people, we don't expect deals to be signed, but they could well be. But we want to lay the foundation so that soon after that, partners, there are companies and corporate America, I just talked of US government, but even corporate America for the first time has taken notice. So we have, for example, officials of Constituency for Africa. They are a major participant and has organized many high-level meetings between African heads of states and US government and corporate America. They will be participating, as well as the ACBC, Africa Caribbean Business Community. So again, we're very delighted. There are businesses who are telling us, look, I have 10 entrepreneurs, African American. We also have from Europe, investors saying, look, we've been wanting to penetrate Africa, to get into Africa to do business, but we just don't know who to work with, who to trust. So part of what we'll be doing is matchmaking so that businesses, our curated or vetted small enterprises, can also tap into the global market as well as attract investments. So those are some of the things we'll be discussing, Chris.
In fact, I want to raise 2 things from what you said. One is that, as you know, I live in Delaware, where the president-elect comes from. And I'm privy to the fact that the Biden administration, unambiguously recognizes the role that the African community play in the development, not just only of America, but also their home countries. And then 2, I work in Philadelphia, one of the most Black cities in America. And in fact, arising from our last convention, I had approached about 200 African Americans that I work with, just in my own company that I work with. And we were actually making plans for them to come and see, they call it the motherland. Shem, you remember last year we had the year of return.
Correct.
That was very successful. What happened this year, early this year in March, following the death of George Floyd, is the reawakening of an African skin and an African inheritance. That's why many African Americans are really anxious and ready to invest in Africa, because they also believe that as long as the Africa continent is still mistreated, the black man will always be mistreated around the world. So that was something that I was working on. I was ready to bring 200 black people from America to come to their motherland. But I'm hoping that we can do that next year. That's why I'm very excited about your approach in terms of broadening this diaspora outreach, not just about Kenya, but Africa. So in terms of what you have around from the continent, what are the key issues that you're looking for in terms of bringing out in recognition of the role that the African diaspora play in the development of their home countries?
Actually, Chris, if you permit, allow me to, I can't fail to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. And I'm glad he comes like you from the first state.
Awesome.
I have fond memories of Delaware as well. But I should also add, we're delighted that our own Kamara from Ingo is Deputy President-elect.
From Hapa,
we're very excited. Yes, we already given an African name very close to our own, of course. But so we expect even friendlier relations for Africa. The outgoing administration had that major program that was very good for Africa, but we expect it even to get juicer. But in addition to that, I may also just mention that this reawakening and of course the consciousness, Black consciousness, although the George Floyd effect was very unfortunate, extremely unfortunate, but it has done a reawakening. A number of my friends who work in major multilateral organizations say these days even their colleagues are very careful not to discriminate against them advertently or even inadvertently. So that that's an issue that we must and should take advantage of. So a lot of that will be happening. And thank you so much, Chris. We can't thank you enough for your continued support. God bless.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Shem. Viewers, I've been talking to Dr. Shem Ochodo. Of course, Shem is one of the leading diasporas. He was in what we used to call KCA, Kenya Diaspora Community Abroad. These are the guys who brought us the dual citizenship. Shem came back home after his studies in the UK and in the US, and right now, he's our man on the ground. If you want anything, if you want to deal with the government as the diaspora, Shem is there for us, and we can't take that for granted. So Shem is organizing the Diaspora Convention. This time he's calling it African Diaspora Symposium and Conference. It's still I like to call it Diaspora Conference for the purposes of my own understanding.
No
yeah, so it's the same
That's
thing.
Fine. Or even convention.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, only that this time it's a little more broader, bringing in the world governments, but more specifically, the participation of African diasporas from other African countries beyond just Kenya. We really look forward to this convention. Like I said, it starts on the 8th to the 10th at the Sereni hotel, and if you're around, you're part of the diaspora, please join us to this conference. Shem, thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to host you again.
Thank you so much, Chris. Be blessed and enjoy your stay at home.
Awesome. Viewers, this is the Diaspora Live Show, and my name is Chris Omalo. This show, of course, airs live on Standard Digital Videos. You can access the past episodes if you go to the Standard online, the archives there. See you at the convention, and again next week as we bring you what will have happened at the convention. See you again.
Thank you so much to Standard Media for continued partnership.
Awesome. Thanks, Shem.
and support here.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.